Hello, so today we're going to be concluding our little three-part series going over all the augments in the game. Today we're going to be ranking all of the prismatic augments from S to D tier based on how great I think they are, how often I'm clicking them, and which ones I think are a little bit overpowered or really strong, which ones I think are a little bit more situational, so to speak. If you like my content, please make sure to like and subscribe. Like I said, this is the last of the series. We went through the silver and gold augments a couple days ago, so now this is just closing it out with prismatic augments. And of course, I do daily TFT guides, so if you want to get the most out of your set 16 experience, please make sure to like and subscribe. But anyways, let's get started on it. Band of Thieves. Basically, they made these prismatic versions now where you gain 2 Thieves Gloves, then after 8 player combats you gain another, and then obviously if you get them later in the stages, you just take less player combats to get those. But essentially you're getting 3 Thieves Gloves with this augment, which is really powerful because most prismatics, like on average, you're looking for around 6 components worth of value, and especially with a lot of the 5 costs in the game, I think Band of Thieves is a great way to itemize towards a lot of those high cap units. It's just a really efficient way to itemize a lot of expensive units. I actually think these ones are all A tier. I really like them. Obviously these gloves, you can high roll, you can low roll them, but any items can scale up a unit. It doesn't matter what the items are, any items are good items in general, right? Because they have a multiplicative effect, right? Often, you know, you might be unlucky to get like maybe tank items or carry items on the wrong units. There's a mismatch, but especially if you're playing towards high cap boards, which is what this set is kind of revolving around, playing around 4 cost, 5 cost, and expensive units, just having anything on units will give them some sort of scaling or survivability that allows them to maybe get a second ult off, maybe last a little bit longer, and often just help out your board in general. So I think for prismatic, these ones actually provide a good amount of value because the 3 Thieves Gloves is very efficient for itemizing those. So I really like them. I think they're definitely a step above average, so to speak. Belt Overflow. I usually used to think this one was really good. It used to give 5 belts. Now that it gives only 4 belts, I find that I skip it a little bit more. I put this in B tier. If you need to get some really efficient, nice frontline, this basically gives you 2 Warmogs, and it gives you some extra bonus health value for your giant belts, which is nice. You can treat it almost like a frontline kind of tankiness type of augment. That's the way I at least look at it. I think it's average. If I need if I'm in need of frontline, you can't go wrong. It's pretty solid. But right now, I feel like it's just like I liked it a lot more when it gave 5 belts. Maybe I'm mistaken in how many belts it gave, but it just feels a little bit like more situational now because you don't have that extra little bit to play around with. Binary Airdrop. This one might be a little bit controversial. I think it's also A tier. So binary airdrop used to be extremely broken. But basically the way it works, if you're holding 2 items, you gain a random third completed item. And then you gain 2 random components now. Actually, no, it's only 2 components. I think this one's B tier, actually. I was going to say, like, usually binary airdrop is S tier. It's, like, really broken. Now the items that it gives you are random. Before, they used to be tailored items. That's what made it really broken. Now that it gives random items, I think binary airdrop is still quite good. Because item scaling, even if they're random items, a third item is way more powerful than just having 2 items on a unit. Because you have the 2 items, they have a multiplicative effect with each other, right? If you have a unit and you give them 1 item, it makes them that much stronger. If you give them 2 items, those items will stockpile. If one gives AD and one gives something else, then that's multiplying with them to make their ults more meaningful. Even if it's a bad item, like let's say it's a tank or a carry item on a non-tank or non-carry, like vice versa, like mismatched, it's still going to scale them in some way, right? It will scale their ult if it gives them some sort of stats. Most units have both AP and AD scaling, even if it's very small, it's still going to be beneficial. And then if it's like, you know, mismatch or a tank item, then, you know, obviously it still gives them some survivability. I'm just trying to explain that, like, the random item thing is something you kind of don't have to worry too much about. Now, that being said, you can get unlucky with binary airdrop, and you're not getting much value out of the augment unless you're doing a lot of binary airdropping, for example. What I would suggest is that because it's random items, I would want to get, how do I phrase this? I would want to have 4 to 5 units. 4 is like my breaker point, but I want to have 4 to 5 units where I'm getting binary airdrop value on. Now that is situational in the sense that, like, it's hard to have 2 items on 4 different units, and if it's on a main carry or a main tank, it can also grief you in certain times. So at one point, getting the extra items is going to be overwhelming. It's similar to something like Band of Thieves, where you have these Thieves Gloves on these 5 costs. You can consider Binary Airdrop almost like a Thieves Gloves, right? That you get 2 items and then you get a random 3rd item. It's actually can cap higher than something like Band of Thieves. So it really just comes down to if you can make it to that threshold of like 5 units plus with Binary Airdrop. At one point you're just going to stat check your opponents and you're just going to overwhelm them. So I do think it has the potential to be up here in A tier. It's just that for me at least, the number when I look at my game is 5. Now maybe you disagree with that number, maybe you think it's like 7, maybe you think the augment sucks, but I think that like it's hard to get as much value out of it unless it's like specific encounters like Scuttle Puddle, which then you might not want binary, or if you're playing I think Bilgewater works really well with binary because you get the extra items, right? And then you can just like triple item everybody. But that's what I mean. I want to get to around 5, and that's why it's a little bit more situational for me, and I put it in the average tier. Birthday present, I put in B tier often. When you star up, you gain a 2-star champion, and the max cost is 5 costs. So if you make it to level 9, you make it to level 10, you get 5 costs upgraded. It's pretty powerful, but it requires you to have a lot of econ. Now, if you don't have a lot of econ and you take birthday present, you might find yourself in a really awkward spot where you're just kind of pushing levels and you make it to level 9, but you don't have any upgrades, your board isn't coherent, things are really awkward. You could obviously high roll, the 5 costs are very strong, so hitting the 2-star 5 cost is going to be really powerful, but usually you want to pair birthday present with an econ augment. If you're able to have an econ augment with birthday present, then it's really great, but birthday present you get on 2-1, so if you're taking birthday present over an econ augment, you want to be in an econ encounter, right? If you take birthday present in Scuttle Puddle, for example, it's very good. If you take it in gold subscription or one of the ones that gives you a lot of gold early, then birthday present is really good, because if you're able to push levels and have the econ to push those levels, then you're going to very easily make it to 9 and be able to roll around it and stabilize around that 5 cost, and in some cases make it to level 10. If you're unable to make it to 9, this augment is horrendous. It doesn't really give you that much value for a Prismatic just to upgrade these units. Often, like, you know, you can take it to try and play tempo, but like I said, it's sometimes hard to do that because this is a Prismatic, right? There's other augments that are better for Prismatic tempo, and there's other augments that are better for Prismatic econ. So it's like, unless you're like, you know, rich, I wouldn't take this. That's the main criteria for it. Bronze for Life, I think, is broken. I'm going to put in A tier because the boards could be a little bit awkward to solve or put together sometimes with Bronze for Life. But in general, for every bronze tier trait, you're getting 2.5 damage jam and 2% durability. The thing that separates this a lot more from the gold version of it is the durability that you get. A lot of augments give damage jam, very few of them give durability. The durability makes your whole board insanely tanky. 2% durability for each bronze tier trait with the damage jam is extremely powerful, especially if you can cap around 5 costs and 4 costs. They will just be absolute menaces, absolute monsters, especially those frontline damage dealers. They're going to be absolutely impossible to kill and do a shit ton of damage as well. The main thing though is that you need to have a board that kind of plays a lot of traits. Bronze for Life does not activate with unique traits on 5 costs. So if you try and, like, you know, put in Fiddlesticks, for example, like, you know, Vanquisher, where's Fiddlestick? I clicked the T-Hex, my bad. They both have their mouth open. That's my bad. Anyways, Harvester won't count, Vanquisher will. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's why I mean, like, sometimes the board can be a little awkward depending on what you're playing. That's why I don't think it's S tier, because you do need to put in some work to get enough value out of it for it to feel like a Prismatic. But normally I would say 6+ traits. 6+ traits is where I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good in terms of value. Buried Treasures, I think this one's really great. But basically you get a component now, and at the start of the next 5 rounds, 6 components. Now they are random item components, but this is like the quintessential Prismatic. It's very strong. 6 components for a Prismatic is extremely powerful. I take it. I would take it over stuff like Belt Overflow or other things if I have the opportunity, just because it's like, you know, 6 components is really powerful. That's basically 3 completed items, and because it's components, you can also rearrange them to make them really powerful. I think in general, you can't go wrong with it. Of course, you can get unlucky because the components are random, but this combined with your carousel picks, combined with your regular item drops, you should be able to have the itemized carry of your dreams or the itemized tank of your dreams fairly easily, while having some extra room to spare to cap out your board around secondary tanks, secondary carries, etc. Call to Chaos. We need to actually check this probably. Hopefully, let's see if the tables are updated. Tools, tables. Like, they changed Call to Chaos to have some other stuff now. Does this one have it updated? I don't think it does, right? Yeah, it doesn't have the egg. before I usually put Call of Chaos in like in a B tier, and I think I'll still put it there. There are some different cash outs, so I want to double check it. But my general understanding with the Call of Chaos is that like sometimes it can be like generally you're gonna get a lot of value out of it, but a lot of times it could be a little bit awkward. Sometimes you take Call of Chaos, it gives you a bunch of XP. Sometimes it gives you a bunch of gold, right? For Prismatic, that's fine, right? If you want gold or if you want XP, but sometimes you want combat power, right? There's ones that give you triple artifacts. There's ones that give you like units or rerolls or stuff like that. It's like depending on your spot, you can sometimes get something that griefs you. Before there was like the one where it would give you a 3-star 3 cost. That one was also a huge grief. There's the one with the egg, right? The egg is pretty good because it gives you 2 completed items, so it's not as bad as like the regular egg augment. But in general, when you're clicking Call of Chaos, you're always gambling a little bit. So I think it's more of a situational pick. It is something you can always just like click no matter what and see what you get. But there are a lot of times where if you're not careful and you don't actually know what all the Call of Chaos cash outs are, like be aware that you might get a bunch of rerolls, a bunch of gold, or a bunch of XP. Or if you're looking for any of those, which is like some form of econ, you might just get like components or items or stuff like that. So you want to be prepared for both of them. If you have a spot where it's like, okay, I either can spike with items and roll right now, I can either roll right now with rerolls, or I can go 9. It's like it's really good in like in between boards, right? It's when you don't know what your decision is, and then you can make the decision around the Call to Chaos. That's where it's a lot better. But that's like a hard spot to have. Like, you know, if you're indecisive at that point in the game, it might be indicative of you just having a bad spot and hoping for a bailout in Call to Chaos, right? So, you know, we'll put in B tier. Celestial Blessing. I think this one's solid as a combat. I don't know if I'm undervaluing it, but 25% Omnivamp on whole board is pretty good. And because it's such a high amount of Omnivamp, the chances are you actually get a lot of the health shielding. A lot of times I put this in B tier in the silver and the bronze version, the silver and the gold versions of it, because I feel like the Omnivamp is more situational on whether or not your units want Omnivamp. Here, a lot of times this Omnivamp can basically just guarantee your backline 1,000 health shield, because it's so much Omnivamp that you're actually going to ramp up enough to get that shield going, and even in your frontline as well. However, I will say that you do want to take this obviously if you need the stats of Omnivamp. It's not like necessarily like, I don't think it's the strongest of combat, because basically situationally you can equate it to getting extra health shield. But in general, I think that it just helps your board be more tanky. And if you have units that are more melee focused or like, you know, frontline, then obviously it's going to help out with that extra Omnivamp. If you're playing like Aatrox, it might also help because you can scale him with some AD. And obviously, if you're fighting against boards, like let's say you're fighting against a Fizz player, or you're fighting against, like, you know, a Senna, or people who have backline access, this can give your backline a second lease at life by giving them the Omnivamp so they can live up, right? Like, kind of like a whole board Gunblade. Chosen Wolves, I don't know how good this is. I don't think it's that good. I feel like it's hard to fit. It's not that hard, actually. Okay, I'm gonna put it D tier for like unranked. I think that I might move it later, but I'm not saying it's D tier does not mean that it's bad. A lot of times when I do these tier lists, if there's something that I really don't have familiar with, then I put in D tier just because. This one basically gives you an Embessa and Kindred, and it's like an Embessa Kindred hero augment where it makes them both do a lot of damage. It feels like it's similar to like how there was like the Embessa Caitlyn one and like set 13, like stuff like that. But this one's not too bad because you can fit in Kindred and Embessa with Draven, right? Draven's a quick striker for Kindred and Noxus for Embessa, so you can build a board around it, and it's not that bad. However, it just comes down to Kindred and Embessa if you have items for them if they're broken, right? Like, if you are playing around quick strikers and you're playing around potentially Mel or Embessa, then obviously this will make sense because it will give you the Kindred. You can itemize the Kindred. Kindred will be strong and powered up by the Augment, and Embessa will be powered up by the Augment. But, like, overall, I don't see this as being particularly great unless I'm specifically trying to play around a Kindred. But I think the conditions for hitting this is that you have to have an Embessa. And usually if I'm playing Embessa, I'm playing around Mel. That's what I mean. It just doesn't feel like it's coherent with my game plan when I'm trying to play around these units. So I don't know where to rank it for that reason, because to me, I would almost never click this, because if I'm playing Embessa, I am almost assuredly not going to be having Kindred items. Like, it's very rare that I'm angling that comp in my line selection where I have this type of setup for these units in particular. Like, does that make sense? For like, that's what I mean, but I don't know how to rank that for you guys. Like, me, like, I'm just gonna be honest, I would not click this, or I would very rarely click this if ever. And it just comes down to if it's broken or not, and I haven't seen it in action because it's a rare occurrence for this to happen, to actually know if it's broken. Actually, can we check it with stats? Wait a second. Does this one have stats like the other one? Let's double check. Traits. Oh, nice. It's shit. No, I'm joking. I forgot. When you have these augments, you can actually check the stats on them, because it's not a, this is like, there's no augment stats, but there's stats for the trait synergies. Yeah, this is what I was saying. I'm pretty sure it just comes down to if it's broken or not. It's definitely not broken. It averages a 5. This is, you want it to average at least a 4.5. So this will probably get buffed in the future, right? Like, look at Dragon Guard. This one got nerfed and it's still good, right? Like, this was one that was really good. And as you can see, it's probably just like scattered a little bit because the stats are still fresh. But we can actually check those ones. So that's a little bit of cheating, but I'll just put it, you know, we'll put it in C tier then, because I think it's pretty bad. That's funny. Anyways, comeback story. Your team gains 4 health and 0.4 attack speed for each missing player out. This one just recently got nerfed. I think out of PBE, because it used to give 5 and 0.5. I think this is really strong, especially if you're playing around a lose streak type of opener. The amount of stats that you get is pretty massive. Because, like, you can imagine if you lose, like, 50 health, like 50 HP in the game, you're getting, like, what is it? 50.4. It's like, you're getting, like, 20 and 20, right? Like, it's pretty good. It's not like the craziest amount of stats. It's like this obviously shines really well when you get to late game, because you're just gonna get so much extra HP and so much attack speed from it that it's gonna be pretty good, right? Because 4 times 100, like, you can get up to 400 health, close to that on whole board for a prismatic. It's like, it's not bad. It's pretty good, and the attack speed as well, which is massive. Everybody loves attack speed. I think this is A tier, but I think you have to have the spot for it to be A tier, right? A lot of times it's like lose streaking early. Commerce Core. Okay, these ones, I think I all put them in B tier, by the way, right? This one, I'm pretty sure these are the ones, like, let's go Commerce Core. Yeah, there's a lot of augments this set that they appear on 4-2, and they give you an absorbent amount of Econ, basically, right? So, like, this one, like, in a vacuum, it's obviously really broken, because if you read it, it's like 10 free shop rerolls, which is like 20 gold, and then 4 every round for the rest of the game. But this is more of like a bailout, right? This is like if you're trying to go fast 9, maybe, and you're not playing the current stage. Like, this is like just giving you a huge amount of rerolls at the end of the game. So for a prismatic, what you're hoping to do is to, like, either out tempo or out power spike everybody else. But compared to, like, prismatic combat augments, like if somebody takes an augment that gives them either items or gives them like stats or gives them like crit or anything like that, you're going to be outscaled by them if they're able to hit their board. So a lot of times this is more of like a bailout, and you're really hoping to use these either to like scam a game maybe with a 3-star 4 cost, or you're trying to like scam a game by, like, you know, making it to level 9 and buying everything before everybody else. But they're very situational. I don't think you should get like what's it called, like bright-eyed, and what's the word for it? Like, you shouldn't like you shouldn't get like magpied with it, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, there's like 10 rerolls and this is so much gold and I'm gonna hit everything. It's like, for a prismatic, you're actually gonna put yourself a lot further behind in combat if you don't end up taking a prismatic combat on stage 4 as opposed to Econ. You gotta treat these more of like a bailout. So if you're not in need of a bailout, I would definitely not be looking at it, if that makes sense. Components Heist, I think, is also B tier. This gives a lot of value for what it is. Now, after 5 player combos, you get 1 of every item component. That might seem like, oh, what do I do with that? 1 of every item component is actually pretty good for making multiple different builds. There's lots of great items you can make by just using a variety of different items. This essentially gives you 8 components. So for a prismatic, it is more powerful than most of the other ones, right? Buried treasure gives 6, excuse me. Like, that's like the breaker point. So this one obviously is going to have a downside to it, and that downside is that you have to wait 5 player combats. This is another augment that appears late in the game, right? Component Heist appears on 4-2 as well, which is at the end of the game. So what this means is that I'm basically playing with no prismatic augment for all of stage 4, and then on stage 5 I'm going to get 1 of every item component. So it's really good for like capping your board really high, but you're essentially saying to yourself, I'm going to be weaker than everybody else on stage 4. Unless somebody else takes another augment like this where they don't have an augment, right? Even like other stuff that gives you Econ, at least give you Econ. You're basically saying, I'm going to have nothing. So it's a really hard sell for me. even though the value of it, if you cash it out, is really good, you're putting yourself in such a bad spot that really the only time you want to take this if you're purposely know already that you're sacking stage 4. If you're like, yep, I'm going to sack stage 4 no matter what, then you might take this as like an alternative to something like Commerce Core, one of the Econ ones, because you're like, I'm going to go 9, I'll use this to cap out, because with 4 components, with 8 components, I'll make 4 extra items, and with those 4 items, I can itemize at least 1 extra carry or 1 extra tank easily, and that's like the idea or logic behind it. Construct a companion. The next 1 cost champion you buy is 3-star, gain 2 gold. This one I don't like it that much. I'm going to put it in C tier because I think this one you don't get at the start of the game, right? You get it at 3-2, right? I think at 3-2, this is maybe good to like salvage your mid game, but at the same time, it's an entire Prismatic dedicated to a 3-star. 3-stars were really powerful last set because you had like the fruit that you can use to power them up and like play around them pretty convincingly and easily. Here, like buying a 1 cost and just turning them into 3-star, I can't imagine a single 1 cost in the game that is going to be potent as a carry. Like a lot of the balance of the set is that these low cost units get outscaled really heavily. So the only reason you're buying it is basically to be strong on stage 3. Right? So I mean, to try and salvage your game a little bit. But, you know, what you're hoping for if you're clicking this augment is that your first shop or so is going to have a 3-star that you want. Or that you're playing like Bard reroll or something. You're using it to scam an Alawi or a Shen, right? And you're rerolling. But either way, it just feels really awkward because it's not like get a 3-star 1 cost or something. It's like you have to have one in your shop that's good. If you don't have one in your shop that's good and it's 3-2, you might even push levels. You don't even have that many 1 costs in your shop. It just feels like really awkward. That's the main thing. Like I don't ever see myself taking this because even if I need to like try and like win rounds on stage 3, it just doesn't. It feels like I click this and then I look at my shop and I don't have a unit that I want to buy or I have items for, so then I just don't buy anything, and I'm still losing rounds on stage 3 until I find the 1 cost that I want. But then the other alternative is that I start rolling for the 1 cost, but if I'm rolling to find the 1 cost to win out the stage with, I could just be rolling to upgrade my units to win the stage with. Right? Like, it just feels like, wouldn't it be better? I just, like, the question I ask myself is I would rather just take another augment that either gives me combat power, rerolls, or econ, because I think that will help me out a lot more. Now, obviously, like I said, there are spots where this is great, and maybe, like, you know, it's in Bard lines or some reroll lines. This might help you out as, like, a nice bailout, but I just think it's way more situational than average, so I put it in C tier. Coronation. You get a Fawn or a Tactician's Crown, which gets you an extra unit on your board, and that Tactician's Crown gives a bunch of stats, attack speed, attack damage, ability power. I think it's a really solid choice. Obviously, you get an extra unit on your board, which helps strengthen your entire board. You can fit in extra synergy, for example, but additionally, you also get stats for it. So now, if you already have Tactician's Crowns or things like that, then you get extra stats for all of them, which is nice. So it kind of turns into like not really like a good item, but kind of like a little bit of an item that can help out your board. I think it's just solid. Great option. Cursed Crown, C tier. Honestly, I might put Chosen Wolves down because the stats are so bad on this. I think it must be bad if the stats are as bad as they are on this one. So I'll put this one really down because of the stats. I'll put this one in C tier. This is like very rare that you click this. So basically you gain +2 team size, and you get extra durability, but you take double player damage. Double player damage is really punishing. So when you take Cursed Crown, you're trying to use that +2 team size to really steamroll your lobby. You have to be extremely strong to take this because you're basically saying, I'm going to have a really good spot, and then with +2, I have an even better spot, and you're just like completely punishing your lobby. Like this is an augment that you take if you look at your board and you're already 100 streaking, or you're already like, you know, in a spot where you can 100 streak, you take this to like make sure you do maximum damage to the rest of the lobby. Because basically as soon as you don't hit your max cap, or as soon as you like get out capped by a single person, you lose so much player health that like even if you have the greatest spot imaginable, by the time you get to like stage 4, if somebody else high rolls something and you lose some rounds, like stage 4, stage 5 damage, you might just die even though you're like at 100 from the whole game. You know what I mean? Like it is very difficult to convert a game off of this, and it's very risky. So you gotta like take this and you gotta be Mr. 100. You just gotta like absolutely rail the lobby and like make sure the game ends really fast so that people don't have a chance to outcap you, because you're just gonna get completely deleted when the player damage rises in later game fights. So personally, I don't usually take this ever, but if situation permits, you can try it out. Dragon Guards, I'm going to put in B tier. This one I know is pretty good. It just got nerfed, by the way. Let's make sure that we're looking at the right numbers, right? This is on current patch. Yeah, 16.1b. I'm pretty sure it's still good. Yeah, it's still good. It was broken before, and I think even after the nerfs to Jarvan damage, it's still really good as a Prismatic, right? But a lot of it's because you gain a Shyvana, right? In this case, Shyvana, really easy to slot in with any board and extremely powerful. And then you get a 2-star Jarvan, which is nice. Basically, Shyvana and Jarvan basically become unkillable, and Jarvan does an insane amount of damage that he does based on armor and magic resist. The thing about Jarvan is that he is a defender and a Demacian, so he gets armor from both of those synergies. So even if you play him with like a very small subset of his synergies, like smaller Demacia and smaller 3 Demacia or 2 defender, he still gets a lot of armor and magic resist, which actually makes him do an insane amount of damage. And then Shyvana is also a great unit to have in. They're both diving in, they're both being a nuisance, and it can really stabilize you and give you a lot of combat power for what it is. Is it an instant click always? No. But if you're already playing around Demacia and you're already playing around these units, it fits in really nicely. And Shyvana also can get Juggernaut pretty easily, because a lot of times you're either playing Swain or Poppy with those type of boards where you would have a Jarvan anyways. Additionally, you scale your Jarvan, right? After every player combat, you gain a Jarvan 4. So if you're already playing around Jarvan and you have a Jarvan 2 on your board, basically after 3 turns you have a Jarvan 3, and you can even get extra Jarvans after that, which means you get a very easy unlock for Sylas, and you can pivot your board into one of those boards really easily. That's part of the reason why it caps really high, because not only do you have the Jarvans, you earn the Jarvans, you can also sell them after you have the Jarvan 3, and then pivot your board late game into like a really high cap Arcanist board, and you already have the Shyvana and the Jarvan, so you're usually win streaking when you take this, because you have basically a lot of combat power and a lot of damage being dealt by the combination pair of the two of them. So that's kind of how it works. That's how I look at it. I think that this one makes coherent sense, like with the way that you would play it. If I'm already playing around Jarvan, having a Shyvana is fine. If I'm already playing around Demacia, this is fine. I can just put my items on Jarvan, my tank items, right? All of it just kind of synergizes nicely, and it makes a lot of sense with what it gives you. I think it's still really strong, and it just recently got nerfed, and we just checked it because you can actually check the stats on it. That's a little bit cheating for the tier list, by the way, but we might as well, because I think it's a useful trick to try to show you guys that you could use it to inform yourself a little bit on how well something is doing relative to the rest of the stuff. Expected Unexpectedness, I'm going to put an A tier. I think this one's really, really solid. Everything that you get from Expected Unexpectedness is pretty good. This is like a non-skipper. You get this at the start of the game, and it gives you Econ a lot of the times, which is really powerful, especially since Econ is so important in set 16. But also the other cash outs that it gives you are all pretty good. It can give you combat, it can give you units, everything is great that it gives you. So there's not really a low roll for it. Obviously, if it gives you gold and gold and gold, you might be like, damn it, I wish I got something else with it. But because it gives it to you at the start of every stage, it also sets you up for success at every stage, right? Early game, it can give you Econ and units, so you can often either make a bunch of interest or win streak in order to make interest. So your stage 2 is usually something that makes sense and helps out the rest of your game. And then you get to power spike on stage 2 and on stage 3 and stage 4, because it gives you at the start of the stage extra rewards. So I think the timing of it is great. I think the rewards it gives you are great. I think this is one of the ones that you very rarely skip, because especially with Prismatics, a lot of them are going to be really situational. We haven't gone into some of the combat ones, but a lot of times it's really hard to find a Prismatic that actually makes sense with your board, because they're very specific, some of them, right? Some of them are like, get this specific thing or do this specific thing, and it's like, well, I don't need that specific thing, so it's an instant reroll, right? In a world where that happens with a lot of Prismatics, something like Expected Unexpectedness is actually really, really good, despite its name. Forged in Strength. Gain a random artifact. When you drop below 35 health, gain 3 more random artifacts. Because the artifacts are random, I think this one's a little bit awkward. It is a lot of value for what it is, but if you're playing this for the cash outs, I feel like it's really hard to play around, so I put in B tier. I think that if as the set progresses and you become more and more comfortable with artifacts, not you, like you, the people, like anybody, right? You watching, me, myself as well. I think it will rise to being A or maybe even S tier. I know that sounds really crazy, but 4 artifacts total, even if the random is pretty massive, a lot of it just comes down to having like really good understanding of lines and units that like a lot of artifacts. Right now, there's like some units that you know are good with certain artifacts, right? Like the obvious ones like snipers on units that hit backline, right? Like some of the melee ones on the melee units, the tank ones on the tank units. Ornn, Volibear is a really good outlet of artifacts, right? Like there's some of them that are really obvious based on what you see with them, but if you know like certain lines, like there's always going to be like certain types of boards where there's more artifact holders on the board. And when those boards start to get more common or figured out, then augments like these are really good because you have a less of a chance of missing. Think about set 15, right? In set 15, Monster Trainer became like that, right? Think about Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw was broken with like half the artifacts in the game because all the tank ones were good on the front line, all the backline ones were good on the back line, and you could just switch out the monster to another monster if you got an artifact that was broken on a different monster, right? He was like the biggest artifact check in the game. But that was like before. They're trying to balance artifacts, blah blah blah. You know, I understand. I'm not saying that that's gonna happen this set. But what I'm saying is there's certain lines where there's less misses and there's more hits, and that makes this a lot better. But those lines haven't been figured out yet, which is why I'm just putting it in B tier because it might feel like a grief sometimes. So I think it's more situational. Giant and Mighty. Your team becomes large, getting 200 health and 10% max health. I think this is a solid generic combat augment, 200 health to whole board and 10% health, which can equate to quite a bit if you have units with a lot of health. But this is just something you just click and just make everybody really tanky. It's really strong, especially since 5 costs are really powerful, because 5 costs have a lot of base health on their own, which can make them really, really potent as being like alive and damage dealers and nuisances, especially like you can think about Fiddlesticks, Shyvana, those types of units. Going long. I think this one's really solid this set. I think it got nerfed a little bit recently, but I might be wrong. But either way, no longer gain interest, but you gain 5 XP per round. This used to be 4 XP per round. 5 XP is a little bit nutty. 5 XP per round is quite a bit. Basically, you don't gain interest anymore, but you get 5 gold per round. Like, is that not just the same as interest at this point? Like, obviously, like, you know, if you pair another Econ augment with gaining interest, it's going to be less overall. But this allows you just easily tempo, right? Like, you could just push levels. You can play other units on your board. You get an earlier crack at your level 8 boards, your level 7 boards. A lot of times when you take going long, you can more easily win streak because you're able to push levels, get more units on your board. Like, you know, you can be like level 7, like in certain encounters, you can be like level 6 or level 7, like early, end of stage 2, early stage 3. Right, and then other people's boards, you know, they're level 5 or something. You're just railing them with like 2 extra units, right? It's like literally as much value as you get from Curse Crown. You know what I mean? Like you just get like 2 extra units on your board to delete the people on stage 2. So a lot of times it's really good for that, and it really helps you a lot. And 5 XP per round is nothing to scoff at. That is quite a bit. And the no gaining interest, it might be a little bit awkward sometimes. The biggest problem with these types of augments, these are great when there's like a huge disjoint in the amount of gold that you have relative to the lobby. So some people really like going long when there's a lot of gold. Some people really like going long when there's not a lot of gold. What I would like to say is, like, if your lobby is really poor, going long is great. Because if you're able to push levels and get higher cost units, the rest of the lobby won't be able to catch up because they can't make interest. If the lobby is extremely, extremely rich, then if they're making interest anyways, they might be able to outcap you. Because if they're making 50 gold and you're not making any interest and you're trying to go long, they might be able to make it to 9 earlier than you. Because, you know, you can't accumulate the interest. You're not gaining, like, you know, a lot of extra bank every turn. You're kind of like on average richer than everybody, but it's kind of like you're really rich at the beginning of the game, and there's like this huge gap from like level 7, level 8, level 9 where you're going to be poorer than everybody else, because if they're accumulating a huge amount of gold, they'll be able to like instantly push those levels, as opposed to you that you don't have the gold because like you kind of averaged out the way that you earned your gold based on the augment. So it's like stuff like that where it can feel a little bit more situational, but I think it's really good this set, just because of the way that it is from last set to this set. It's definitely better, and you want to play around high cost units, and this really helps you with that. So it's definitely the A tier, just not S tier or anything. Growth mindset, this one I put in B tier. 36 XP is a lot, and buying XP costs 3 gold instead of 4. Obviously it's really good, you can instantly make it to 9 with this, but this is one of the ones where you get it later in the game, so it's more of like a bailout, right? This you get it on 4 too, so it's similar to those other ones. I think it's a little bit better than some of the other ones, but it's just like the EXP version of it, right? So for example, this one is the reroll version, this is the XP version, and we're going to see there's one that gives you gold, and that's the gold version of it, right? Of all of them, I think the gold version is the best, because like having the gold to spend gives you the flexibility of anything. Commerce Core, for example, I think this one is really good if you have a lot of gold already, or if you have an augment that gives you XP or something like that, because the free shop rerolls allows you to like easily use those shops either on level 8 or level 9, accumulate them pretty easily, but you need a lot of gold to just be able to buy the units with those rerolls. And then something like Growth Mindset, this is obviously good if you just want to like push the levels anyways, right? Because it's just going to teleport you to level 9 basically. Also, sorry, it's also really good if you didn't level yet. If you hit this augment and you're still on like level 7, for example, you can save a lot of gold getting to level 8 with it. I don't know if there's a hidden rule that it has to be for the only get it if you're level 8 already, but let's say like, you know, you're sacking and you have an infinite amount of gold. If you save all the gold going to level 8, you might be able to instantly teleport to level 9. So that one's a lot better if you didn't already make that decision. Don't take this if you already leveled or pumped EXP or something like that, because it might be a lot worse. Hard commit, I think this is B tier. I actually like it. Basically any 5 costs in the game you can get, and I think the 5 costs are good to play around, but it is a little bit awkward with certain lines based on the emblem that you get. Hedge fund, I usually put this in C tier. I think hedge fund it's just really hard to tempo with it. You get 25 gold and then your max interest is increased. A lot of times with hedge fund, you're basically trying to sack until you have 10 gold, because that's like the whole thing about it. It's just like playing super greedy. I think it's a little bit more situational than some of the other econ augments though. You can obviously take it and still play around like a normal econ game and work it, and obviously econ's really important in this set, but of all of them I put it a little bit lower just because you usually have to sack, right? In order to make those early interest intervals to make it to 100 gold, it kind of de-incentivizes you from using your gold to play very aggressively. And a lot of the other economics, like compared to going long, what makes going long so good is that a lot of times you're playing very aggressive in your early game, you're getting a huge HP lead. Here you're usually not getting a huge HP lead. So if you don't teleport yourself to level 9, which is sometimes very hard with hedge fund anyways, you can hedge fund the whole game and you still might not be able to level 9 before 4 or 5. That happens pretty commonly. Or you level 9, you don't have enough gold to upgrade everybody, or you low roll on your level 9 roll down, then you're just dead, right? Because you don't have an HP advantage and you're not able to really play aggressively in your mid game is what I find with it. So I think that for that reason, I usually put this one in C tier. That's maybe a me preference. Of course, if you're a really greedy player, this one obviously gives you the most amount of gold. If that's like your appeal and it generates so much extra gold because of the extra interest, it can be really good. I think hedge fund is also good if you're playing specific lines where it works really well. For example, Yordle or Bilgewater, right? Bilgewater, you don't have to care about pushing levels or upgrading units or playing your board because it's going to play itself. You could just hedge fund yourself, 10 gold every single turn, and you'll have a fully upgraded board because you'll use your Bilgewater shops. Similar with Yordles, right? You'll have the Yordle upgrades on their own, and you get the lots of rerolls and the grab bags and stuff, and then you just teleport to level 9 and you use all of your shit and you're good to go. That's where I think it obviously shines a little bit more, but obviously you can make that same argument about any econ augment. If you have like the econ augments with the econ traits, they're going to be really good. Hold the line. I think this one's a little bit specific. It does give a lot of stats. You get AD and AP. If you have units that like AD and AP in your backline, it's really good. But obviously it requires you to have like a really large front line, like a lot of frontline units. It's not that bad this set. There's a lot of ways to get around it, especially with like Azir soldiers and stuff like that. But I think that this one, like, you know, because it's ability power and attack damage, you really want the carries to have both those stats, and it could be a little bit awkward sometimes. Invested, these are like those bailout ones like I was talking about, gold and rerolls for interest. I think that they're really solid if you hit them at certain points, like invested plus I definitely like in stage 3, but you're usually just taking this for econ and often like similar to hedge fund sacking, except because you're getting rerolls, I think it's a little bit easier to play around, which is why I put in B tier, because you can use the rerolls earlier rather than later. Jewel loads I put in A tier. I think this is one of the generic combats you can't really go wrong with. It's basically just get a bunch of crit and you make your units crit, just great. Right, 35% crit chance, 10 critical strike damage, so it increases the damage when you actually crit, and abilities can critically strike. Even if you already have an item like a Jewel Gauntlet or an IE, you still get extra crit damage for those, because if you read the item description, if your ability is already crit, it gives extra crit damage. So it's not even that bad in those cases. It's obviously not optimal in those cases, but it's not bad. But in general, I think this is one of the ones where you can just like kind of click it a lot of the time, and it does give you some level of combat power for your team. Just hit. Champion Duplicator, 18 rerolls and 10 gold. I think this is one of those bailout ones, so I would put in B tier. Level Up, I think Level Up is solid. We're going to put in A tier. Econ Augments are really important. You can rarely skip them. This one's making XP give you an extra 2, so you get 6 XP instead of 4 XP, so it costs, what it costs for every 2 XP, you're spending 2 gold for 3 XP or whatever. More or less, whatever. It's just good. You want Econ this set. Even if you're not going to 9, just making it to level 8 with enough gold to roll for everything is always a challenge, just because of that huge interval from level 7 to level 8 that they made. So I would just recommend Econ. And if you see a Prismatic Econ, if you want to keep up with your lobby, you pretty much always have to take a Prismatic Econ in my opinion, but it does depend on your spot. Obviously, if you have a spot for a win streak or a spot for a lose streak and an augment that pairs really nice with it, that's the only reason I would skip an early Econ like this. Living Forge, I put in B tier. This is another one where if you're playing lines with artifacts, this can help out a lot. This is good for combat power, obviously, but it could be a little bit awkward at certain times. The artifact anvils, I've seen Living Forge get to 3 darken sometimes if you're playing around like Bel'Veth, the Aatrox lines, because you can get the darken items from Living Forge, I think. I don't know if they changed it or not, but it was like that in PvE, so I saw that happen once or twice. But I don't know if that's like a valid strategy. I still think it's like B tier, even though you have some like crazy win conditions, even in the average case. Lucky Gloves, I put these ones in B tier, by the way. Now, Lucky Gloves is really strong, but I think it just doesn't give you enough components. So Lucky Gloves gives you only 2 sparring gloves. Lucky Gloves Plus gives you, oh, Lucky Gloves Plus is better now, right? 2 sparring gloves and another after 2 player combats. Can I do this? Is that too harsh? I think there is a clear difference between the two of these. But basically, let me explain. Lucky Gloves, it gives you 2 sparring gloves. So basically, that will allow you to make 1 Thieves Gloves. So you have 1 Thieves Gloves that makes 2 ideal items. The thing is, the 2 ideal items is really powerful, obviously. You can itemize your 5 costs, you can itemize your late game units. It's obviously really good. But you don't get a lot of value for a Prismatic for just 2 gloves, right? Because 2 gloves is basically just 2 components. 1 Thieves Gloves only itemizes 1 unit. Now, technically, because they're lucky Thieves Gloves, you can argue that it's like those 2 components is actually 4 components, yes. But to be on par with a Prismatic, you need to have at least another set of Lucky Gloves. And the problem with Lucky Gloves is that you don't want to put it often. If you only have 1 or 2 Thieves Gloves, you don't want to put it on your main carry or your main tank. Because your main carry, your main tank, you want to have 3 items on them, not 2 items. Lucky Gloves will only give you 2 good items. So it's a little bit awkward unless you have a lot of Thieves Gloves. If you have 2 Thieves Gloves, that's like the bare minimum where I think it's acceptable. And because this only gives you 1 Thieves Gloves, it means that you have to find a way to make another Thieves Gloves with your items, which is probably possible. You can just go on Carousel, take a glove, whatever, but then you're trying to lose streak. Gloves really popular. It's never the last pick on Carousel, or very rarely is the last pick on Carousel. And you're hoping to get dropped gloves. It's like it's risky and it's awkward. And I don't like it. So, right, that's not me. So I put this one in C tier. Now, Lucky Gloves Plus is a lot better. This one might actually even be A tier, right? The reason this one's better, it happens later in the game, but it gives you 2 Thieves Gloves. So this one, for Prismatic, I think, is good, because now, if you can find another Thieves Gloves by other means, like if you high roll into another one, now you're in bonus time territory. Here, at least, with this one, you get a Thieves Gloves, and you get a second set. So now you have 4 items for your Prismatic. You can put them on your 5 cost, you can put them on your high cost units, you can put them on your secondary tank, your secondary carry, whoever you want. You can even put on your main tank, main carry if your items aren't perfect, and then swap them around later. It's all fine. Like, this is great. So 2 Thieves Gloves, I like this a lot. Now, I still think it's going to be pretty low cap unless you hit another Thieves Gloves. Like 3 is where I'm starting to get into territory where it's like good. It's similar to like Binary Airdrop, where I said I want to have like 5 items with 5 binary airdrop value. I want to have 3 Thieves Gloves to feel like I'm in a really good spot, and I want to have 2 at minimum for it to be passable. So this one gives you 2 minimum, so I think it's passable. I think it's really solid for B tier. Now, is it as crazy as some of the other augments? No. Obviously, if you pair it up with like Band of Thieves and you have infinite Thieves Gloves, it's going to be absolutely S tier, broken Giga Juicer of doom. But of course, it comes down to like your spot, right? If I already have a Lucky Gloves and I see Lucky Gloves Plus, I am 100% clicking it. Right? Because I'm going to have 3 champions with 2 good items on all of them. That is so solid, and that's not even accounting for me trying to find other gloves by other means. Obviously, I'm not saying that, but this is a tier list based on like what I would consider average cases. If I'm playing the game and I don't have an augment that specifically makes this broken, I think it's pretty average. I would just click it. If I like, it's not something I would necessarily say is bad. It's just something that like, yep, I can click that. That's solid, similar to some of the other ones. Luxury subscription. Gain a package containing a 5 cost, a 2-star 1 cost, and 5 gold. At the start of the next 2 stages, gain the package again. This one is kind of weird. Every time I see this getting clicked, I think it's broken. But the problem is that it's like, how broken is it really, man? I think I want to put in A tier. How much gold is it? It's 8. It's basically a 5 cost and 8 gold. It's so hard to judge this one, guys. This one's actually really hard to judge for me because I think it's here. Like, I think it's just consistent. The problem is right now, like, if we look at the current patch, basically the 5 cost that you can get, assuming you can't really unlock anybody on stage 3, right? Like, unless you got like a really crazy ASOL. No, not even ASOL. It's a 7 cost, but you can't really unlock anybody on stage 3. So you're getting one of these units, basically, right? An early Azir is crazy because you can just get a Nasus and a Renekton, or you can get a Xerath early. So this guy's broken. Annie is obviously broken. Even at 1 star, she can often streak you on stage 3 if you make items for Annie. So this one's fine as well. Zilean gives you XP, so you can play Zilean early game. Ornn scales you with the artifacts, so this is good. Because the thing is, you're getting this augment on stage 3. That's the thing. It's not like a late game thing. It's like a stage 3 thing. Right, where is it? Right here, luxury subscription. You get this on 3-2. So when I'm looking at people's boards on stage 3, a lot of times, if you have one of the juice or 5 costs, of which there are a lot of them, Senna's broken, right? But basically, like, even these ones, like, I would say Annie specific. I'm trying to move these out of the way. Let me move the Sand Soldier out of the way. I think Azir, Senna, Shyvana, maybe Fiddlesticks. We'll put these ones in the maybes. Right? I think it's like this. This or this I'm really happy with, because Shyvana is going to be so hard to kill that you often can streak on stage 3, and Juggernaut's pretty easy to slot in. Senna Lucian's obviously busted. You can just carry Senna 1 for the entire game, and you'll probably make it fast 9. And then at 0, you have the unlocks, which is insane on stage 3. I'm not saying you have to go for 4 Shurima, Giga Win, you know, I hit Shurima, YouTube video, pogging thumbnail type of beat. What I'm saying is that, like, having the unlocks on stage 3, you just get a Xerath or a Renekton or a Nasus, and you are just strong on stage 3 leading into stage 4. So it is just really reliable, and you can just flex around the Azir. Fiddlesticks, I think, is somewhere in between. Annie, I think you need good items for. And then Zilean and Ornn, it really comes down to how you can scale them. I personally like to play around Zilean, but I think Ornn also has his merit. But, you know, depending on the artifacts that he drops, it could be a little bit awkward to play around him. Kindred is the only one that I think is like a little bit weird, just because she's a little bit more particular in items. So if you don't have good items for her, it could be bad. But Annie, even if you don't have good items for her, she provides anti-heal. But all of these base 5 costs, as of right now, they're all broken. They're all really good. And the thing is, this gives you Econ. It gives you like basically 8 gold. So it gives you 8 gold, and it gives you a 5 cost. Now you could even play the 1 cost champion. Maybe they're useful. Who knows? But the 5 costs that you can kit are all really good. And for a stage 3 augment, this gives you a lot of tempo, because all of the 5 costs, I think if you put items on them, are pretty strong on a stage 3 board. Like, if I'm imagining the stage 3 boards, who would I lose to? Maybe like a Bilgewater player, but like most of the other boards, if I can just slot in a 5 cost with synergies and items, they're going to be pretty reliable and pretty strong on stage 3. So if you're able to use it to tempo on stage 3, then stage 4, you just have to survive, and then on stage 5, you upgrade them for free, which is just really, really powerful. And you already know what you're playing around. You can already start flexing your board on stage 4 as well. You don't have to go fast 9 because you're guaranteed a 2-star 5 cost you can use to try and cap your board as well. I think it's just really good. The information that you get and the tempo you get is good enough for me to put this in A tier. But that's a me thing, right? If you look at it and you're like, ew, dog shit, I don't want Zilean. Okay, then put in B tier. Like, I don't really care. To me, I think I would click this very often. At least when I see it, I click it as of right now. So, yeah. Min-max? I actually really like min-max. But I'll put it here. I think min-max is situational. It only gives 4 components. It gives you a golden remover, which allows you to reallocate all of your items, right? Golden remover has infinite uses. The other thing that maybe some people don't know, when you get a golden remover, it converts all of your other removers into reforgers. So with that, if you don't know, like a remover and a reforger, reforgers are, oh, it doesn't show it here. Does it not show it anywhere? Okay, well, the reforger you can use on a component to like turn it into another random component. So basically, every single stage, you would, instead of getting a remover, you essentially get a reforger. So all the removers that you already have turn into reforgers. That can be really good. There's obviously win condition scams like that. You can reforge emblems, you can reforge items and components, you can reforge artifacts. But I think in general, the reforgers are really, really powerful because it makes it so that you can have really good item quality because you can just get rid of your bad components. Because you're going to have enough reforge, you can just reforge like 5 or 6 times and you can just fix all your items. I think that the problem with this is that if you don't have a use for the reforgers, like let's say you already slammed your items and you're pretty happy with them, and if you don't need like how do I phrase it? Like you don't really need the golden remover. I think you have enough removers in this set where it's fine. So it really just comes down to if you need the reforgers. Like I like this when I maybe am considering between different lines and I want to slam an item that's a little bit risky that I can get rid of it later. That's when it's a little bit better, potentially, kind of. But I like it just for the comfort. This is a really good comfort pick. But essentially, it's giving you 4 random components. If you do not need the components, it's bad. Also, if you really want components, there's better augments, like in terms of power level, that give you more components. So for Prismatic, it's underpowered, and it just comes down to if you need the removers or not. So some people will even argue that it's like A tier because of the powerful reforgers, that you can use to like change everything up and like fix your item quality really well. You can almost treat like a mini Pandora's that you can like fix certain components really nicely. But me personally, I look at it as 4 components and I put it here. It's not necessarily a bad pick. There's spots that it's going to be better or worse. And obviously, if you need components, it will spike you. It's still 4 components, right? It's as many components as Belt Overflow. You know, that's what I mean. But I think it's average. I don't want to put it much higher than B. Money Monsoon, this is the other one of these growth mindsets, commerce core. This one you get gold every round, right? 7 gold now and every round for the rest of the game. It doesn't give you like the upfront, like something like growth mindset does. And it doesn't give you like the upfront like commerce core where it gives you the 10 rerolls instantly. But 7 gold per round is pretty powerful because you'll essentially be like able to make it to like level 9 pretty easily with that. And the 7 gold allows you to have like rolling gold or spending cash basically every turn. I think that this is like a bailout similar to some of the other ones. I put in B tier. I don't think any of them are particularly horrible. It's just that like if you really need like a bailout, they're there and they're solid bailouts, any of them, so B tier. But obviously this one will pair really well if you have a lot of rolls already or a lot of XP, right? Let's say you have level up and you hit Money Monsoon. You're basically saying to yourself, oh, I'm just gonna go straight to 10, right? There we go, Baron Nashor. Right, obviously there's synergies and broken things with them, and that's like a really big part with augments, especially with the prismatics. If you have some of these early econ style prismatics like going long, level up, we'll talk about another one later, I forget what it's called, upward mobility, but if you pair those with like some of these other ones that give you gold or rerolls or interest or stuff like that, they like scale so hard, right? Like level up, a lot of times in the past you would only take this in like a scuttle puddle, because if you have a lot of gold from scuttle puddle, then you're instantly level 9. So like obviously some of these are much better. Some of these augments are much better when you have a lot of gold, right? If you have an infinite amount of gold, you can instantly teleport to 9 with going long as well, right? Because you just spend all your gold on XP instead of having to save interest. You can just tempo level without having to roll or anything. That's why, like, I think I was watching Kurumex, right? And he was saying that like, you know, when you have an econ augment and you take a second econ augment, it's like having 2.5 econ augments. That's like the whole point. I think that's a really great way of putting it. He has a way with words that is amazing. Because, like, you know, if you take like level up and you get Money Monsoon, now like you're stockpiling 2 econ augments together, they're way more powerful together. And that's like a lot of why certain Fast 9 metas really favor having 2 econ augments. Because if you have 2 econ augments and it's like a Fast 9 meta, you're well ahead of tempo than somebody that just has 1 econ augment. Even if you have 2 shitty econ augments, they kind of add to each other in a really powerful way. But either way, like I said, situational. 9 lives, I don't like it that much. I'm gonna put in B tier. You get cash outs. The cash outs are decent. They give you a lot of components and stuff like that, and like gold and whatnot. But basically, this makes you have 9 lives. So basically, every time you lose a match, you lose 1 health. It puts you at a low HP really early on. So this used to be really broken when Cinch was broken, because you can just like play Cinch for free. But now the Singe is not that broken. It doesn't have as much of a use case. The thing that with 9 lives is great, though, is you get early carousel pick. Basically, nobody will be able to contest you on carousel for the entire game. So if you want to play that, then it's really great. But a lot of times with 9 lives, you want to have some sort of calm. That, like the problem with 9 lives is that, especially this set, you want to be able to go 9. And 9 lives makes it really hard to do that. Because if you try and sack stage 4, that's like 5 lives instantly. Right? So it doesn't actually add up to be really well. 9 lives is really good if you were in previous sets when you were playing reroll, or if you were playing a board on level 8 that capped really high on level 8. Because then you could just like send it on level 8, cash out your 9 lives, be really strong compared to everybody else, and like pilot that to a top 2 or top 1. But now that like there's a lot of high cap with 5 costs, you might just fall behind and just die and lose before you even can stabilize. 1 buff, 2 buff. If you need red buff, blue buff, and a champ duplicator, you can treat this like Econ as well. Champ duplicator, you don't have to roll as deep for your units. B tier though. If you need those components, it's great. Pandoras, I talked about in the previous tier list, so you can go check out the full analysis there. I don't think this augment's that great. I don't think it's that bad. I think comparatively, if you compare all the Pandoras, the silver one is the best one, because you're basically getting the same effect for all of the augments, except this one's prismatic. It gives you a random radiant item. The problem with Pandora's that I find is that it's just really slow. That's the main thing. So a lot of times I'm taking it only in specific spots or for specific bailouts. It's not a take all the time type of thing, because if you low roll the radiant item, or you low roll your components that you're trying to reforge into your better items, it's just really bad, and you just lose a lot of tempo for it. I would rather just take another augment that just gives me a radiant item that I can select, or a Masterworks upgrade, because then I know that I can just pick a really good item to highlight the best of my unit and just move on and call it a day. Prismatic Destinies. There's not many prismatics you can low rolls too hard, so I think these ones are solid, but I put them in B tier because they don't give as much gold anymore. But you can just take them to just get gold into Rocket. I think that they could also be A tier, but I think I'll just put them in B tier because I think that's like a general thing. Prismatic Ticket, I don't like it that much. This set, I'm going to put in C tier. I think it's a little bit situational. Reroll lines aren't that great. You can obviously take it and still use it as like Econ or stuff like that, but I don't particularly think it's crazy. Bard lines, it's great because you can basically get Bard without griefing your Econ early game. But I think even in those cases, the Bard lines don't even cap that high unless you have like some other supporting stuff to really help it out. It's just the nature of rerolls being kind of weak, but that's fine. This is more for consistency, but I wouldn't necessarily make my game plan around a reroll unless I really had to. So I would put in the more situational tier. Radiant Rascal, this gives you the Rascal Gloves. It's a great way to just itemize a unit. 2 random Radiant items is really powerful. It has a lot of stats. Radiant Relics, I think this is like the average, right? You just get 1 of 5 Radiant items. A Prismatic equals a Radiant item is kind of like a general idea that they have in the world of TFT, so it's B tier average. Retribution, I actually like this a lot. I'm gonna put in A tier. 2 Hands of Justice. Now, Hands of Justice are really good because they give a lot of stats, right? You either get a bunch of Omnivamp or a bunch of damage, and they can work well on many different units. But this also allows them to critically strike, so it has like a little bit of like a Jeweled Lotus, Jeweled Gauntlet effect, which is really nice. I find that I take this pretty often. I think there's lots of units that really love to have the Hand of Justice on them. You can even put on backline units now, and they have like extra survivability and extra DPS. And also, if you make another Hand of Justice, you get a lot of value. Every Hand of Justice you have now is basically like a built-in IE or a built-in Jeweled Gauntlet, which I think is pretty powerful. They also give some mana regen, which is good on a lot of units, and it's one of the main reasons why Hodge kind of fits into a lot more of those builds on those units. I think a lot of the 5 costs also like Hands of Justice, so I think in general, I really like this one. I think it's pretty strong for what it is. Secrets of the Sands. I don't like this one very much. I'm gonna put this in C tier for situational. I think it's just really awkward. So basically with this one, you get an Azir on 3-5, which is actually, it's not that bad, man. It's like, the problem is, okay, let me explain. You're taking this augment. It basically just gives you 6 gold. It's not that bad. Like, you can make some interest, but you're basically down a Prismatic for the entire game, and then your cash out is that you get an Azir. Now, when you get the Azir, when you unlock a Shuriman, you get the ideal item for them. The problem is it's so hard to unlock the units afterwards because it's like you don't have the HP to work with. Azir is great when you have a lot of HP because then you can easily go for Nasus or Renekton or Xerath, which I think is the best option, and it makes it like really reliable to play around those units. This is an augment that you have to take on stage 2, by the way. So if you take this on stage 2, when I took it one time to try it out, and I really didn't like it, because what my experience was that I made it to 3-5. I tried to unlock a unit. I ended up getting Nasus, and then eventually I got Xerath, and then eventually I got Nasus, just because of the way things went with that game. I usually, if you can get 2 Shirimans, you get ideal items for each of them. So it gives you 2 completed items, but it also gives you an Azir. So you can argue that it's like decent value. The problem is that I didn't have Econ because I took this on stage 2. And I don't have enough Econ to reliably make it to level 9. And Azir boards are really hard to fit in unless you get like some high cap potential. You can play him with like Piltover and Disruptor and blah blah blah, but Azir himself doesn't do that much damage. So depending on who you hit, if you're playing around Secrets of the Sand, you really want to get Renekton, and you really want to get Xerath. Because Nasus is just going to be a tank, which is fine, but Azir is not going to carry you, and you're not going to have as good items, you're not going to have as good of a setup. And the problem is just like, it's just so awkward. In my, like, what happened in my game when I played it was that, like, basically I was stuck on level 8 for the entire game because I couldn't make it to 9, and I was just rolling for like Nasus and like the other units, and I just ended up like going 5th or something because I just didn't have enough tempo. And that's like, when I look at it, it's like I'm never really gonna click this again, because like I think if Azir did more damage on his own, that you can play around the Azir, it would make sense. But you almost never want to itemize Azir. So even though you get the Azir on 3-5, you're not building Azir items when you're playing this. That's what it feels like, because like the game that I played, I built Azir items, like caught, you know. I broke my own rule there, because I was like, well, I'm gonna get an Azir, I have to make Azir items. But then you're not gonna get Azir 2 because you're gonna be on level 8 rolling probably, and then like by the time you get to Azir 2, he doesn't do any damage even. He's not like a late game carry, he's more of a support unit because he summons the Sand Soldiers, and you're usually carrying somebody else. So then like you're trying to play around like Seraphine, and like she's not that much of a damage dealer either. So then you gotta hope that you unlock Mel. And then, like, Mel, you want to get to level 9, but now you don't have Econ. And it's just like, oh my god, man. It's just like I think it's just too slow. I think you either need the Azir earlier, or you need more gold at the start. And I think this would be B tier. Like, that's what I want from it. Because I either want to have more interest so that I can reliably roll on level 8 and maybe have a chance of making it to 9. Because this is taking the place of an Econ augment. Or like if Azir gets buffed in the future, maybe, or if like you get him like maybe like a turn earlier, but then it might be broken. Because if you get Azir too early, then you could just go for 4 Shurima. Because like, you know, you could just like you could just purposely lose for the Nasus and then get Xerath and then get Renekton. So I don't know how to work it. I think it just needs to give more gold, or maybe just give you an item at the start of this, because the problem is it's a prismatic, right? Like you can't look at it in a vacuum. I think it's broken. Like you can look at it in a vacuum and say, oh, I get an Azir, I win, blah blah blah, for Shurima. You have to understand, somebody else, if they're not taking Econ, they can take Buried Treasure, and they're up 6 components on you. You're gonna be fucking railed. Somebody can take this augment, and they're up 3 Thieves Gloves on you, and you're gonna get absolutely railed. Or they're gonna take an Econ augment, and you're gonna get railed. It's like the opportunity cost of this doesn't outweigh it. That's why. It might even be here, by the way. I'm gonna put it here just to be nice. Shimmer Scale. Generates Econ. You get a Mogul's Mail and a Gambler's Blade, so you can just generate Econ with it. Pretty solid, because but the items are pretty shit, so B tier. Shopping Spree I think is broken. I think this is really good. We're gonna put in A tier. It gives you rerolls every time you level, equal to your level +1. So you can use those rerolls a lot earlier. You can basically use them to like unlock units if you really need to. But also it's just a lot of gold for what it is. It's just a lot of value. It's been like that for many sets. I think it's really powerful. Soul Awakening. Combat start, your team gains 2% attack damage and ability power per second for 10 seconds, and max stacks deal 15% bonus true damage. This one I'm not sure how strong it is. I'm not gonna... The 15% bonus true damage makes me think it's broken. But I don't take this one, because I never know if I'm gonna make it to 10 seconds in a fight. Right? Does my board last 10 seconds? Who knows? That's the problem. So I don't know if it's situational or not, but that 15% true damage is kind of a big deal, because it's better than damage amp. It's like 15% true damage is a lot, and it gives 20% attack damage and ability power. Like, I think this is... it's so hard to tell. This one, I think I need more reps to know how good this is. So I'm going to put in B tier because I don't want to clickbait you guys. But if you guys are watching this, just know it might be broken. Because it's just like, I can't conceptualize the 10 seconds. Because a lot of the fights that I play, they end in like 15 seconds. So I'm only getting the true damage for 5 seconds. Like, it needs to be some damn fucking... We gotta be deleting some units with that true damage. You know what I mean? Like, it is a little bit weird. Like, if it was like... If the true damage was like 20%, I think it would be broken for sure. If the attack and ability power that's stacked kept stacking, I think it would be broken as well. 20 and 20. 20 isn't that much though. That's the problem, right? Like this is what I mean, right? Hold the line is an augment that I don't think is broken, and hold the line gives 10 ability power and 9 attack damage for each ally in your front row. 2 allies in your front row gives as much value as 10 seconds of Soul Awakening, roughly, right? That's the problem. That's why I don't think it's good. But the true damage is broken. So it's like, that's the problem. The stats aren't enough for me to think that it's good. Like, I don't know if it's, but didn't it get nerfed as well? I have no clue. I'm going to put it in B tier, right? This is one of those ones where I think I would only click it if I know for sure that I have a stall comp that lasts 10 seconds. That's basically the way I look at it. But I think it might be broken because the true damage is very powerful. Spoil is D tier. This thing's fucking trash. Never click this. Very rarely do you ever want to click this. The cash outs aren't that good, and you're basically saying to yourself, I'm going to take an augment on 2-1 where the cash outs aren't that great, and I'm basically hoping that I'm going to be stronger than everybody else down a Prismatic. Somebody else can take a Prismatic combat and then you're just fucked. Like, it's just not worth it usually. I think you're better off with pretty much anything else, unless you have an insane spot where you know for sure that you're going to win, that you have like Giga Exodia. Then obviously you can take Spoils of War and you'll get a lot of loot and it will be great. But I think of all of them, the Prismatic one is the worst. I think of the loot tables, the silver one is the best. So if you want to take a Spoils of War and you really want to scratch that itch, you're a lot better off with the silver one. And then the gold one, I think is, I don't know if the gold one is the worst or Prismatic is the worst. I remember somebody did the math one time, and I think they're close, but I think gold is the worst, and Prismatic is the second worst, and silver is the best. Like, in terms of, like, the expected outcome of the percentage chance of the loot and what you get from it. I think Prismatic is the second worst. But either way, just fun facts, I guess. Starter kit. This one's, like, kind of, like, just gives you a game plan. If you're looking for a game plan, 4-cost champion, 2-star 1 cost that shares a trait with them, and you get it at the start of every stage. So, by the time you get to stage 4, you're actually going to have your upgraded 4 cost, and you can just play around it. So this is great if you just want a game plan. Of course, you could get griefed and not get a 4 cost that you particularly like. And that can be a little bit awkward. But of course, that's TFT, B tier. Sweet Treats, A tier for sure. Basically, if you have a lot of items, it's a lot better. But you gain an artifact anvil, so that's fine. You can pick an artifact. Your team gains 25 health and for each item equipped on champions. So this actually scales really well. If you have a bunch of items, your whole team gains HP. Right? It's for every item, not artifacts, every item. So if you slam all your items, you get a lot of value off of this. If you have 3 item carry, 3 item tank, 6 items, that's like 150 health right there. If you have more items, if it's like Scuttle Puddle, you can actually scale this really well into late game. You can have like an excess of, I've had games where I've had 400 HP on everybody, right? Like it can add up really fast. So just keep that in mind. Sword Overflow, it's same as Belt Overflow, but the sword version, B tier. Tactician's Kitchen, you get a fawn and an emblem. I don't know if emblems are particularly crazy, but we can put it in B tier. The Axomata, I think this one's good. You get 3 random hex augments. If you don't know, those are the silver augments. And then future augment rounds instead grant you 1. Oh wait, 1 elemental hex and gold based on the augments tier. I don't know if I think this is broken, but. How many is it? Like, I feel like it's really strong, but the problem is you don't get any Econ augments at all. I think that's the problem with it. Yeah, we're gonna move it down because you don't get an Econ. I was gonna check them. I forgot that this doesn't let you get other augments, right? Basically, the 3 random elemental hex. If you don't know, there's these hex augments. I'll try and find them. I'll try and find one of the pure air, Axom, these ones. It's like these augments, right? So you get a hex and it has some sort of effect. They're all silver augments. All of them are good. all of them, like, they're all relatively good. Like, they all give you like some sort of bonus, like, you know, shred sunder or extra scaling or whatever, armor, like they're all good. There's none of them that are bad. Anti-heal, etc. So early in the game, this is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best combat augments, because for a prismatic, you're getting the value of 3 silvers, which I think 3 silvers equals a prismatic pretty easily. 2 silvers is better than a gold, and a gold plus a silver is often equal to a prismatic. So by my math, 3 silvers is very much equal to a prismatic. It's often equal to, it's well within its strength. So you get a prismatic's value worth of combat power easily with 3 silver augments. The problem is future rounds gain you the other elemental hexes, which is fine because you will eventually have 5 hexes, which isn't that bad, and a bunch of gold, so it's decent for combat. But the problem is Econ is so important this set that if you're not completely win streaking with this, you are not going to be able to keep up with the lobby. Like, how are you going to make it to 9 without a single Econ augment? Now, you do get gold based on the augments tier, so that might help compensate for it, but I do not think that it is, like, you need something else, I think. That's why I put in Beecher. I think it's situational. If you have an insane opener where you know that you can win streak, I think that I would click this. But if I do not have an insane opener, I cannot risk it. You know, you might need to get bailed out later. You might need a bailout augment, and this won't be the bailout augment, you know? You're gonna look at your augments, and you're gonna get a fucking fire Axom or whatever you call it. And you're gonna be like, oh, great. Golden egg, I would never click this. It's too risky, but obviously if you're in a lobby where nobody's trying and they're all degenerates and glue eaters, then it's really good. But this is like for content, it's for fun, right? If you take it, you're having fun. Obviously there's some spots you can take it and it'll be really good, but basically egg hatches in 11 turns, you know. You gotta win rounds down a prismatic late game. If you don't cash it out, you just die, and even if you cash it out, sometimes you cash it out too late and you die anyways. That's the big problem with it. Trade tree. If you want to play around emblems, this is a great way to play around Rise, potentially. 3 random emblems and 7 gold. World Ruins. Guys, this one's going to be really awkward. So, we're going to have to talk about this for a second. Please bear with me. World Ruins, I think, is giga broken. Because if you read it, basically you gain 2 emblems from region traits. After 4-player combats with region traits, you gain a powerful reward. The reward is 2 more emblems, 40 gold, and a fawn. Now, that is insane. Now, the region traits that you have to unlock, it's not that difficult because you can get Targon in, and then you just have to get emblems for region traits, which is pretty powerful, which is pretty easy, because you get the region traits for sure. The boards that you can play, you'll often be able to fit it in on level 6, which means that you'll have to have a board on stage stage 3, right? Stage 3, you'll have 4 rounds. So a lot of times what ends up happening is you lose a bunch of HP on stage 2 because you don't have a prismatic augment to start, and then you're going to lose a lot of HP on stage 3 because you're cashing out your World Ruins. But in general, if you have any sort of decent way of stabilizing or having items or stuff like that, you can actually win some of those rounds, which will help you out a lot. The cash out is massive because 40 gold plus the fawn actually gives you an insane amount of flexibility in how you can play it, and additionally it gives you another 2 emblems. So in total you're gonna have 4 total emblems. With that many emblems, you can often fit in enough synergies that you get enough stats on your board that you're insanely strong. Every time I see this played in a stream, mind you, they're all like good players. Soju plays this a lot. He has multiple games with this, and you can see that he like wins out every time. I have not seen a single person who is good at the game bot 4 with this. I have not seen a single person get less than first. I am yet to see, like, maybe I'm just not watching the right people, but like every single person I've seen that clicks this has gotten first. And obviously you can use it to play around Rise, because with 4 emblems you can make a Giga Rise, where Rise, I don't think he's particularly strong, but obviously Rise with like an extra like 4 extra trait synergies is going to be Giga broken, so that's like a huge win con if you make it to level 9. But in general, I think that's really good. Now, why is it controversial what I'm saying? Because anybody who keeps up with TFT will know that this augment is one of the worst performing augments in the game. The reason it's a worst performing augment is because Mortdog said so. Mortdog literally said in his video that this was one of the ones that was really, really bad. Now, it didn't get buffed because I'm pretty sure it's like a skill issue. I think if you're skilled enough to make this work, like you have enough like understanding of the game to use the cash out and to stabilize your board mid game and to actually get the 4 region traits in and all of that, then it's broken. It's absolutely like god tier. Like you click this and you could win the game instantly with it very easily. But I think for majority of the player base, including myself probably, it's probably too difficult to do. Like, I can see myself fucking this up, and I make it to Grandmaster every set, and I can look at this and I can say I am probably part of the reason why. Like, you know, I'll probably click this and I'll probably bot 4 with it pretty fast, right? I still think it's broken. I think it's a required skill set. I think that if we're ranking objectively, I have to say my true opinion of it. I think that it's broken. I think it's just really hard to play. So I don't know where to put it. You can move it down. You can move it to A tier. Obviously, like, from stats alone, it's not performing well, so you can argue that it's shit. I would agree with you. You can do whatever, but for intensive purposes for this list, it has to be broken. I have not seen a single person get less than first that has played it. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, every time I see it, I'm like, that is the most broken shit in the world. As soon as you cash out the 40 gold and the fawn, it's like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like, for a prismatic, like, it's like coronation with 40 gold and 4 emblems. Like, it's like, okay, I lose like 5 or 6 rounds, but I get an extra 40 gold and 4 emblems. Like, compared to another prismatic, it's so much value. It's just a matter of if you lose too many rounds that you die before you can get there, right? Or get to stabilization. But I think if you're good enough at the game to stabilize your board and play flexibly and like understand like which region traits you can use to make the strongest board, like, it's broken. It has to be. Tiniest Titan, B tier. It gives you HP and gold, but I think it's like, actually it might be a little bit worse, but I think in this set when you're trying to go fast 9, this can actually help you out quite a bit. So I think it's pretty decent. Tiny but deadly, I think it's generic combat. You get a bunch of attack speed, which is pretty good for everybody. The movement speed is really good if you're playing melee carries, though. That's like the big part. Trifecta, if you're playing 3 costs, it can be really good. I know with like Gangplank and Nautilus and GP reroll lines, this is something that's really popular because it buffs up your 3 costs. Upward mobility, I think, is really strong. Econ augment, I think of all the econ augments, this one's probably the best one. XP costs 1 less, and you gain health and rerolls every time you level up. It gives you an insane amount of value, and it helps to give you some survivability with the extra HP. Walk the True Path, I think this one sucks. I'm going to put in C tier, very situational. This one's the one where it unlocks 10 Ionia Prismatic. But basically, with this, you get 2 lesser duplicators, a Jin, a Shen, and an Infinity Edge, and the idea is that you're trying to hit Yasuo 3, so you're going to unlock 10 Ionia and go to 10 Ionia. I think that Yasuo sucks so much that it doesn't make it worthwhile, and then I also think that it's, even with 2 lesser duplicators for a Prismatic, it's pretty low value, so it's a little bit awkward to play around. Wand Overflow, B tier, same as the other ones. We Stick Together, gain a random emblem. Also, where's Deadly or Caps? Did I not see it yet? We might have to look. It might not be here. It might be in the silvers or the golds or something. We Stick Together. Gain a random emblem and completed item. All allies that share a trait with that emblem gain 20% attack speed. I think this one's really solid. I think that it can be really powerful as a combat. Because you can basically just play deep into that emblem and get a lot of value off of it. Because 20% attack speed is pretty good. And you also get a completed item anvil and the emblem. So you get a lot of value for the Prismatic just in terms of what it gives you straight up. If you get a Frontline synergy, really good as well. Win out. If you have a lot of gold, this is good. But if not, it's a little bit situational. Basically, when you go to 9, you immediately go to 10. But this means you have to make it to 9. So if you pair this with another Econ augment, you instantly teleport to 10, you have way better shot bots to hit all of your 5 costs, and you get some rerolls, which is great. But for all intents and purposes, this is 6 XP. And if you're unable to make it to 9 with enough, like, it's not only making it to 9, it's making it with enough gold to be able to buy all of your 5 cost upgrades. So I see people click this and then just not win out, they instantly lose out and die. So it's situational, you need to already have a lot of gold, and your game plan already has to be revolving around making it to level 9. You can't just like see it and be like, oh, I guess I'll go 9 and then I'll be 10. It's like, no, you'll just die. Right? So it's very awkward if you don't have a good spot for it. However, this is extremely broken in one particular situation, and that is Void. Void has the win out clause with the what's his name, the Baron. So if you see this and you know that, oh, I just have to make it to 10 and I unlock Baron, that's where it can really shine, because a Baron 1 can stabilize you and you'll unlock him for free if you're already playing around Void. Worth the wait. I don't like this one that much. I'm gonna put in C tier. You get 2 copies of a random 2 cost, and then you gain another one at the start of each round. So you get a 3-star 2 cost, but I don't think it's as... It's really awkward because reroll lines aren't particularly strong. And if you hit like one of the 2 costs that doesn't synergize well, like a frontline trade or something like that, it can be really awkward. It does give you good tempo, right? Like, because you can play around your 2 costs, carry in your mid game and your early game. But I just think that it's too much of a... Like, it feels too low cap for a Prismatic, in my opinion. Now, let's put some other augments up. I think that it's really hard to rank the Prismatics because I don't think any of them are really broken because they're all situational. Of the Econ augments, I think Upward Mobility maybe gets it, so we'll put Upward Mobility up. But I think everything else we'll probably chill with. I really like the Band of Thieves ones, but I don't want to put them in S tier because I don't think they're S tier in particular. But I think everything else is really solid. I think we'll leave it like that. There's not a lot of S tiers. I think the Prismatics this set, there's not as many that are crazy. Also, there is also Deadlier Caps and Deadlier Blades, right? As a Prismatic, am I not mistaken? I think these became Prismatics, but I'm not sure. But I think I ranked them in the gold anyways, but they would be ranked very similar. I think they just give more stats. They'd be around B tier just based on if you're able to play around them or not. But I think in general with the Prismatics, a lot of times you're looking for early Econ, and then it's whatever combat makes sense with your board. I put a lot of the generic ones like Tiny but Deadly and Giant but Mighty in A tier, just because I feel like they work pretty well in general. But you're basically just looking for something to strengthen your board in the best way possible, just so that you're as strong as possible for those late game scenarios. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully that was informative and fun. Have a great day and see ya. Bye-bye.